I'm Jack.
And I'm Ike.
Welcome to a series of reviews we're completely unqualified to make.
These are our opinions. There will be spoilers upon spoilers ahead. You've been warned. Leave now.
With Season 4 of My Hero Academia coming to a close, we thought it would be a good idea to go back to the beginning and review the series piece by piece. We will be looking at 6 different aspects to determine the goodness of the arc, those being the initial character designs and personality, content of the story, pacing of the story, fight scenes, character growth, and comic relief. While we will not be going over every single fight scene, we will be assessing the fights of the arc based on our 4 sub-criteria: choreography and animation, music, visual effects, and the weight or stakes of the fight. For these reviews, we will only be covering the anime, as we do not read the manga. So far, the anime consists of 2 sagas, the UA Beginning Saga and the Rise of Villains Saga, each consisting of smaller arcs. For this episode, we will just be covering the entrance exam arc, which is the first arc of the series.
Just to preface, the world of Boku no Hero Academia is teeming with superpowered individuals. Over 80% of the population has some sort of quirk, which is more or less just a superpower, thus giving rise to both supervillains and superheroes.
Unless you've been hiding under a rock, you've probably become familiar with the series protagonist, Izuku Midoriya, aka Deku. Along with Deku, we are introduced to many other characters, but for this first part we will be focused on just a handful: Deku, Bakugo, All Might, and Uraraka. While there are more than these 4 introduced in the first arc, we feel they are the most important characters in this arc.
Right off the bat, we can see that Izuku is basically a weakling. He has little to no self-confidence, due to his lack of a quirk and everyone telling him that he could never be a hero without one. However, he still strives to be a hero, like his idol, All Might. His 2 redeeming qualities, however, seem to be his great sense of moral justice and his resolve, which is reaffirmed when he is the only person willing to jump in and help someone who bullied him his entire life, Katsuki Bakugo.
Bakugo? He's garbage. Now on to All Might. What do you mean we can't skip Bakugo? But he's just a jerk at this point in the story. Fine, I guess we'll do Bakugo.
There's not a whole lot to say about Bakugo at the beginning, other than his hands secrete explosive sweat, and he's more or less a bully who wants to be a hero that will someday surpass even All Might. But then one day he runs into the Slimy Boy.
I think I've seen that hentai before.
But more on that later. All Might, the #1 hero, symbol of justice, and the man who stands above all the rest, is introduced to us when Izuku is about to become the new skin suit for Slimy Boy.
Now I'm certain I've seen that hentai before.
Anyway, by using his super strength, the larger-than-life hero defeats the villain in... Afterwards, when confronted by Deku, the Earth's mightiest hero tells him he could never be a hero without a quirk. So basically, give up on your dreams, kids. You'll never be a successful YouTuber.
So anyways, there's also this chick named Ochiko Uraraka. She's Deku's first actual friend and supporter in the series. Also, she can make things weightless and apparently vomits rainbows if she overuses her abilities. Now, with the characters perfectly summarized, let's move on to the story.
First, we're introduced to Deku, a boy who wants to be a hero with no real way to accomplish his goal. However, after being rescued by and then discouraged by his idol, All Might, the downtrodden Izuku shows that he has the true heart of a hero by being the only person to attempt to rescue his bully in a seemingly unwinnable situation. Seeing this, All Might rushes in, saving the day, then proceeds to recognize that he was wrong about Izuku. All Might then makes Izuku do a training montage where he gets swole, but learns nothing about the quirk he is about to receive. By ingesting one of All Might's perfectly managed hairs like a true fanboy, Izuku inherits the quirk One for All. Cut to the entrance exam for UA, the prestigious Hero High School.
During the exam, Izuku fails to beat any of the robots, until he sees Uraraka stuck, about to be run over by a mega robot. Deku's simp powers activate, and as he springs into the air to destroy the robot with... While falling, Deku realizes his body isn't strong enough to handle his new quirk. Both his legs and his punchy arm have been broken by his own immense power. After being slapped by his new love interest and being kissed by an old woman, he rests and recovers while waiting for the results of the exam. Unfortunately for Deku, the Megabot he destroyed was worth 0 points. Luckily for him, though, he's the main character and still managed to get enough simp bucks to pass. Thus ends the first arc.
As far as the pace of this arc, it's pretty decent. It keeps a steady flow of information and exposition without drowning you in it. The quick progress of the characters keeps the viewer from getting bored during the less exciting moments while also hyping up the next big moment. This arc really just keeps its viewers itching for more.
Now for the bread and butter, or rather, the slime in the middle schoolers. Overall, the fights in this arc are short but effective. The choreography and animation are decent, the music is on point. The visuals are probably the best part, one example being All Might's weather-changing punch, another being Deku's face-crushing of the giant robot. As far as the weight's concerned, the slime fights came across as though the stakes were real, but not so much that you think the characters would actually die.
Izuku has the most growth during the arc, both mentally and physically. After reaffirming his resolve to be a hero, he slowly begins to work on his self-confidence. Not to mention, boy get jacked.
Bakugo? It's less garbage now.
Through Izuku's willingness to help no matter what, All Might's optimistic outlook is restored.
We don't see much in terms of Uraraka's growth, but we can confirm she's a candidate for best girl.
As far as comic relief goes, they balance action with humor in a way that's natural and doesn't seem forced.
For the most part, at least.
So, how would we grade this arc?
I really enjoyed the arc. I loved the characters I was introduced to, except for Bakugo in the beginning. The story kept me hooked and rooting for Deku the whole time, while also being excited for what would come next. The fight scenes were great. The animation style of the show as a whole really caught my eye. Watching the characters develop over time is one of the things that keeps me watching the show to this day. As for the comedy, it hits all the right notes for me with very little falling flat. Overall, 8 out of 10.
I loved the genesis of Deku. The characters for me were decent. I rooted for Izuku from the very beginning. But I thought Bakugo was a little too harsh, but really I suppose that's the point of his character. All Might was for sure a figure that I could believe was just like Superman. Uraraka was a nice relief from the initial anti-Izuku characters that I felt like they had the whole beginning of the story, but I also like the story content. I feel like it's really well written, maybe a little overused, but they kept it fresh in their own way, with a balance of normal to offset the extremes that are so often present in anime. I like the pace of this first arc. It didn't waste time on redundancy like a lot of other shonen type anime, and I loved the fights. They were the correct amount of flashy and quick to feel mildly real in a quirk-filled reality. As far as the character growth goes, I'm just glad I don't have to hate Bakugo for the rest of this anime. Izuku and All Might both only seem to reaffirm their established characters rather than grow that much, with the exception of Midoriya's self-confidence. The only real criticism I have is that Mountain Lady's sexual innuendos felt a little out of place in the first episode. They don't really return for the rest of the short arc. Overall, 5 pizza slices out of 6.
In later videos, we will discuss how we think the arcs fit in with the rest, as well as if they are good or better than the previous arc. However, we can't really do that for the first arc, so I guess you'll just have to come back when we upload the next arc.
Be sure to let us know what you think about this style of video. Give us your opinions on this arc as well. We'd love to hear them. If you're interested in seeing more reviews like this, or if you have suggestions, leave those down in the comments as well. We'll see you again in our next completely credible review.
One punch! And that's a wrap, bitch.